All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dustin Distefano, the CEO of a Place at Home senior care franchise. And I'm here with Patrick Fresch, owner of a Place at Home Palos Verde in California. Patrick, what's up?
How are you today, Dustin? I want to start off by saying happy birthday to start off the day.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm playing this music for you, man. Today, we're going to talk about the celebration you just had at our convention a few years back. And then I'm going to cut this music. It's going to annoy me for a little bit. And that was you won the top caregiver retention of the year. Congratulations, sir. And with that, the music stops. All right.
I like the music. It kind of set a good mood.
It did. It made me talk really fast. It's like I had to talk to keep up with it.
For sure.
Well, Patrick, we are live on multiple streams here, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I'm going to give a quick brief bio about yourself, sir. You are our oldest tenured franchisee, the second franchisee in the Place at Home franchise system, and your 4-year anniversary is coming up in January. So congratulations there.
Thank you.
How's your 4 years been?
Well, it's been, I've had my ups and downs, but mostly ups. I think everybody who had to finagle through the COVID rules had some ups and downs, but I feel like a seasoned pro these days, and I've had most everything thrown at me, and I know how to handle most everything. So things are going well.
Yeah, COVID was tough. I try to not remember the year 2020. I just go from 2019 to 2021, and we just scratch that from the record.
Well, here in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles County area that I'm in, I think they're still experiencing, I don't know, we still have restrictions out here. So we still have some stuff we deal with, but we've all kind of learned to manage our Department of Health out here.
There you go. Well, lovely state of California that it is. Very, very locked down during that time frame.
It has its trade-offs. The beach is a block away, so you know.
Yeah, I got to get out there still. I haven't been to your territory because Jared went out and visited you when you opened.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what Jared said to everybody because no one's come to visit me since, and that was like 2.5 years ago.
Well, I think Aubrey is on the docket to come out there. We've talked about it numerous times, and I think it's coming up. Has she talked to you about that?
She's mentioned it, but no specific dates yet.
Well, we will get her we'll get her on the calendar. I'll talk to her right now. She probably can hear me right through the wall. So, Patrick, it's funny that you say California is tough. You had your challenges, yet this year you won the top caregiver retention of the year award in an industry, and your retention was 98%, which is really, really good. When you compare this, for those listening who aren't in healthcare or in home care, retention can be very, very difficult, especially in a time now where there is constant turnover, caregiver shortages out there, lockdowns in the state of California where people didn't want to go to work. It's a constant battle for us. And it's one of the things our franchise development manager, Mitch Benson, gets all the time, Patrick. So we figured we'd bring you on here and just talk a little bit about what you do and to increase your retention, how you won that award. So how did you do it? What things are you doing in place in your office that keeps those caregivers coming?
Well, I think it starts with I hired a good nucleus of people. I was pretty choosy in the beginning about who I was bringing on. It probably hindered my growth in the beginning a little bit, only because I was just not hiring everybody who seemed competent. I wanted good people that I could rely on. And I also further, when I started hiring more and more people, I found the best resource for hiring people is you take your best caregivers that you have now and you get referrals from them. And I do pay referral fees to the caregivers who give me people, and retention as well. So if one of my caregivers refers another caregiver friend of theirs to me and I hire them, I give them money for that referral. And then after 90 days, if they're still with me, I give them a second referral fee, like as a bonus. And it's brought quality people. to me, and I have. I think I've done a pretty good job of taking care of them. I pay pretty competitive rates, and I'm very conscientious of making everybody's schedule work to what they want. I don't try to give people a bunch of shifts they don't care to work, if you know what I mean. I mean, sometimes I have to ask people to work shifts that's not their normal days, and they'll do it for me because I take care of them on the other side. And if I put out a note saying, hey, I'm really short of people this week, I need somebody Friday and Saturday in whatever city. Usually I have caregivers that'll volunteer to, even though it's not their normal days, they normally have weekends off or something like that. They'll help me out on one weekend. So it kind of is a two-way street.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. Let's start back at the beginning there. You mentioned that the number one caregiver recruitment tool that you use is employee referrals. Right.
That has been the most successful one, yes. I mean, I found them other ways as well, but I'd say best quality people, best percent of like hiring percentage. It's almost 100% if I have one of my better caregivers send me a friend of theirs or a referral. Oh, you should hire so-and-so. They're looking for work and all that. It's almost 100% that they're going to be good people that I want to hire. It's pretty rare that a caregiver referral turns out to somebody that you're kind of skeptical on.
All right, exactly. And the thing is, and again, sticking to that employee referral, you could pay, what do you pay? $50, $100, $200?
100 up front for the initial referral. And then another, if they're still with me in 90 days, it's another 150.
So in total, you pay about $250 for a caregiver that's been hired to go that makes it 90 days. And we're doing one thing that I don't hear a lot of locations do, not our locations, but a lot of companies don't do, is initial, right? As owners, some of them want to get that 90-day satisfaction and then pay, but you're paying right out of the gate. So you're making an investment, kind of a risky investment that they show up in your employee. But the nice thing about that too is, what a lot of people don't know is they made a referral. So it's probably a friend of theirs, right?
Almost always, or at least somebody they've worked with a lot
in the past.
Yeah.
And so then you just gave her $100. If that caregiver who just got paid, you just paid $100 out on that caregiver that just got hired doesn't show up to orientation or that first shift, that caregiver you just gave $100 is going to go to her friend and say, hey, yo, I put my name out on a limb here, got you a job. What happened? Right? You can almost use your own caregiver as like kind of to push them to make sure that they're constantly showing and engaging. And then once they make their 90 days, what we found in our company and mostly in the industry, and my lights just went out. Bear with me here. I just went dark. We're going to do a nighttime video here. And what we found was usually after 90 days, your chances of success and retention increases, right? We lose a big pool of caregivers between 0 and 90 days. So you're making that initial investment on day 1 and a secondary investment in day 2 because you've already in that first 90 days have got an ROI on that first 100, right? So that's great. Now, the other thing that a lot of home care agencies don't think about in terms of employee referrals is how much money do you spend on Indeed a month? Do you know how much money you spend on Indeed?
Personally, I don't even use it.
All right, fair enough.
I think I'm the only one who still subscribes to my CNA jobs. Oddly, I know it works out here. I think it's all the regions. It's better in some regions than others. And
I love my CNA jobs.
I mean, I can reach a lot of people on that really fast. And I mean, I've used Indeed. I understand it. I understand the platform and all that. But I just haven't had to go there between the recruitment through caregivers and in addition to my CNA. I've kind of stuck with those two, and it's been successful. So I'm not not going to rock the boat that's already working.
Absolutely. Sorry, I had to get my motion sensor.
The one thing I do want to say about employee referrals that I've come to learn, good caregivers only seem to hang out or befriend other good caregivers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like two peas in a pod.
Almost like they were, there's several larger facilities that are in my general area. And a lot of the caregivers I have used to work at those places, and they were tired of the big facility setting and wanted to be more one-on-one. So they're here working for me. And a lot of the people they've brought in are the exact same story, that they used to work with them up at, whatever facility. And, they'll call me and they say, hey, my friend over at so-and-so, she would love to do one-on-one and work for you. I told her about the company. Are you hiring? And almost always I say yes, because constantly I'll say I'm always hiring, because I never turn down the opportunity for a good caregiver. If I don't specifically have for a shift for them that week, I'll be honest and say, hey, I want to hire you. I want to bring you on, but it may take me a week or two to get you a client, because I don't have it right this moment. But as soon as I have it, you're my first call. And I try not to string them along with, I'm very honest with them. If I don't have a shift for them that week, I go, give me a week or two and I'll have a client for you.
All right. So mark that. I want to talk about that here in a second. The how you communicate after you hire them, that plays a huge role in retention. Let's talk about that a little bit. But going back to that referral bonus, you pay $250. You don't use Indeed anymore, but I know a lot of owners that do, and I know a lot of people that put $500 to $1,000 a month in Indeed, right? And Indeed is a huge recruiting tool, right? You get good. It's a numbers game. You're going to get a lot of, one sentence resumes, I kid you not, or you get full resumes too, and you can find good people, but you're working that a lot. You get a lot of no-shows, because you got to understand, when you go on a platform like Indeed, once you put your resume on Indeed, you are a minnow in a pool full of sharks, and you're going to get calls from Patrick. You're going to get calls from Susan at XYZ Home Care. You're going to get called with Susan from Hospital Z. You're going to get called by Billy over at Rehab C. You're going to get calls constantly. So you have to stick out and you have to bang it. Like, you have to literally text, email. It's a lot of work, and you spend a lot of money. You, my friend, spend $250, maximize your people, turn them into your care ambassadors is what we call them, right? And you're getting a more positive return, thus having a better retention. So what I would say, you're paying $250, and I don't want you to.
Well, really, it's really $100 investment.
Yeah.
Because if they don't pan out, or they don't stick with me, or they don't show up, or like it never works out, I've really only gone out on the limb for 100.
Yeah. Because
the 150, once they're with you for 90 days, I'm sure they have a set schedule. They're good, that you want them there, all that kind of stuff. It's almost more like just a bonus, it's a bonus to have good people, obviously, but that extra 150, it's that bonus. But the risk factor, if the hire doesn't work out, you're only out $100. So it's not really a $250 investment for sure until you've already got that good employee.
Yeah. What you should do, and it's hard for owners and busy people like yourselves and other franchise owners do, is if you market correctly in your WellSky CRM, there's a WellSky plug there. You can look at how many Indeed applicants you entered in and how much you spent. So if you entered in 10 applicants in the month of January, and at the end you spent $1,000, that just cost you $100 an applicant, right?
Yeah.
You just paid $100 for a hot applicant from a caregiver referral and rewarded your people, which thus in turn helps turnover. Now I want to mention mycnajobs.com. You are one of, there's a lot of people that use it. mycnajobs.com is a completely different recruiting type of platform. You have to work that marketplace, man. You gotta send text, you gotta advertise positions, you gotta do a lot of work there too. So that's a costly investment too. It's not as much as Indeed. I think it's like $300 a month.
$350.
$350.
I actually
month contract.
I actually have utilized their marketplace more than I have. I've posted on it, but more so, I will go to the marketplace, and it's kind of an interesting. I'm sure you know this, but those who don't, you have the ability to really refine your search.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's an LA County thing, because there is a pretty big database out here, and I can narrow it down to my zip code, a 10-mile radius, and I want a female with 5+ years experience with Hoyer lifts, dementia. You know, there's a whole plethora of check boxes you can make, and then it spits back to you people who fit that bill, and then you can see how long it's been since they've checked into my CNA jobs. If it's been more than like 6 weeks, don't bother to call them. And if it's
48
been
hours, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And some people are like, checked yesterday. And so, you know, those are the people that hit you back right away because they're without client or they need the work or whatever it is. And so I have found that to be a pretty good tool. Not every single person has worked out. And a lot of people no-show you from my CNA. You know, I say, oh, come in Tuesday at 10 o'clock for an appointment. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. And they no-show sometimes, but, you know, I've hired some great people from there too.
Definitely a numbers game. And that's why I like to do group interviews where you book as many interviews at the same time. And then if 3 out of 8 show up, you still have 3 people and you didn't waste your time. So there's a tidbit for all those non-a-place at home care owners out there to learn from. Now, to talk about, let's take a step back to what we talked about earlier. Once you hire this person, how do you treat them, right? You said if you don't have work, and a lot of new home care owners go through this. It's the chicken before the egg, right? How do I hire somebody when I don't have any clients, right?
That is the toughest balance. I tell anybody who's looking to get into the business is the hardest thing is that balance of caregiver to client and keeping people happy that you don't have the client yet and you're working to get that client. And it is a tough equation. And it still is, even when, I mean, I have 40 caregivers on my repertoire, and you know, some are part-time, some are full-time, and still some will say, hey, I need more hours. And you know, I do a lot of communication, and I think that helps. And I'm also I don't string them along and tell them something that's not true. You know, I'll say, hey, you know, if somebody's nighttime exclusive and I'm low on nighttime shifts, I'll be honest, I go, I don't have a lot of nighttime shifts right now, but you're my next up. The next nighttime shift that rolls through, or nighttime client that rolls through, you know, you're next up. And people stay with me and they go, okay, well, call me as soon as you get one and I'll be there, you know, kind of a thing. And I'm sure they're making do with other jobs here and there, but they're kind of ready to come back as soon as I can fill them up.
Yeah. And so you're a sports guy, right? You're kind of acting like their agent. That's
a little bit. Yeah. That's right? Not bad.
You get them on. You get them on. And then what I do is I treat them like they're Jerry Maguire and they're Cuba Gooding Jr. I don't remember his name in that movie. And I'm Jerry Maguire. Like, they're like, show me the money. And I'm like, I will. I need to know your skills. And then I would go out and meet a family and I'd say, hey, I have Alicia McGill, who I just saw post a comment on here. She has dementia experience, 3 years. She's been in long-term care for 5 years. Know 3 things about your caregiver. Make it a point, right? The way you set yourselves apart as a home care agency, not with your clients, well, with your clients too, but with your employees to increase your retention, is the fine details. The little details are if you know all about them, there are 3 top characteristics and you sell them to your clients are going to be like, man, this guy knows his people. That caregiver is going to be like, man, you know me. And then when you place them, bam, they know each other and you're great. And there's no secret why a Place at Home has an entire system in Home Care Pulse, which is another plug, very good vendor and partner of ours. I saw Todd Austin on here earlier, where we scored 93% as a system on client and caregiver compatibility. I don't think that's a secret, right? That there's no secret sauce to that. It's the fine details of both caregivers and clients. When you match them together, you know their needs, you know their skills, and boom, right?
Yeah, that matching the caregiver with a client you know they're going to be successful with is another, a huge detail that people I think could tend to overlook. Just because you have a caregiver that can work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you have open shifts, don't just assume that that's the right caregiver for that client, and vice versa. Putting caregivers and clients with with people that fit well is a huge component that I think could easily be overlooked.
Exactly. exactly. And sticking to that, like, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but anyways, stick to the fine details of the caregivers and the clients. And that is number three. That's where I was going with that. That's a third way. So the first way, hire the right people. Going through employee referrals is a great way to increase retention. Your second way is know the fine details of themselves, right? Be able to get them matched up about their characteristics and constantly communicate. The third way is setting them up with the clients that are best for them,
Yep.
right? If you just what happens is, and if there's any home care company, even myself included, when I ran Omaha, if there's anyone who would tell you, oh, I'm perfect, right? I know how to do this, and they've never just thrown a body in a situation because they needed to, they're lying. A, B, that's where people you always go through these little ruts. You're going to go through this where you're constantly working on the day to day, right? Have you ever happened where you come in on Monday and you got 5 shifts open on Tuesday? You fill Tuesday, you come in on Tuesday, you got 5 shifts open on Wednesday, and you're just plugging bodies, right? Because you just
it happens.
It happens, but once you get yourself out of that, you got to work towards smoothing that out, right? Mm-hmm. And you do a good job of that, right?
I think so. People are happy.
But you also have one of the most unique models of home care when owners always are like, man, how's Patrick doing it? You're just you go for those big fish, and that's another way to get.
I've just been really fortunate in a lot of ways. I can't explain why I have the higher percentage of big fish or the 24/7s than other agencies, or locations. But it just seems to work out that way, that I have people, who, when they come to me, they need a large portion of hours each week and have the means to do it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people try to shy away from 24/7s nowadays. They say they take a lot of effort, and they can be tough. Well, you've embraced it. See, I embraced it.
I mean, there's no doubt when you sign up a 24/7, it's not going to, and I'm pretty upfront with the client, and I'll just say, hey, look, it's going to take a couple weeks, maybe even a month to really get this schedule set and get the right people in there, because you need a rotation with a minimum of 4. But in reality, if you want to do it right, you got to have at least 6 people who know the client, know the routine, and know how to care for them. And then once you have that nucleus of people, then if somebody needs to take a weekend off or whatever, you've got people to cover that without it being, because a 24/7 client is not somebody you usually can just throw somebody in the mix without a pretty good training or briefing. Exactly. And in fact, most of the time I'll have somebody do a shadow day if they're going to be a new caregiver for a 24/7. They'll shadow day, whether it be a day shift or a night shift, just to get to know the client and the routine. It may not be the whole 12 hours to the shift, but they'll at least be there for a portion of time to understand how the care works. And they all know how to care generally, but every person's different. And I think if you don't look at it as just, it's a 24/7, I need to fill those 12 hours. Well, only in emergencies, of course, we do that. But sometimes you really need to look at it as, okay, this person, they're 24/7, but they're still a person. You have to cater to their specific needs, and the caregivers care. And that actually helps tremendously on the relationship between the client and the caregiver. Once you kind of get that nucleus going, and you have 3 or 4 or 5 people that kind of do the rotation, and you have and they're good people. I mean, these are people that A, don't miss, and B, if they do miss, they give you a 3-week heads up. Hey, at the end of the month, I have to miss 3 days because my niece is getting married, whatever. And you say, that's okay. Thanks for the heads up. And then you're able to manipulate the schedule without being a scramble. And my biggest peeve I tell employees, don't tell me on Thursday you're going to be out of town Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't believe that just popped up in 12 hours. That's you got to give me some time. And I don't want to say, and nobody, for the most part, people do not do that to me. So I haven't had to do any, I guess, haven't had to reprimand anybody too bad for that. But I think that's all part of working as a team, and they know I'm working hard for them to get them their hours, get them their pay, and it's their living, it's their livelihood. They need the hours, they need the pay, and they need good clients, and they're happy. Clients are happy, and that seems to be a good formula.
Absolutely. So I pulled up a comment. Can you see this comment on Jared's
Yes.
comment? Isn't that crazy? I just found that little feature out on this video, and I've been doing this for about a year now, and I can just hit comments and they pop up on here. So Jared Edmonich, co-founder and partner of mine, great guy. Love the shadow day. And actually, that's where I was going with point number 4 in our final point. I have some questions over here that I'm going to pull up for us, is the intro, right? So many agencies just throw clients or caregivers into situations they have no idea what they're going into. They just give them a name, a zip code, an address, and a little care plan briefing, right?
Yeah.
What we like to do at A Place at Home is that first day introduction call. Or if it is a bigger client or a new caregiver that comes on who's going on to an existing client, have them go and do a work day for not a work whole day, but maybe 2 or 3 hours for that caregiver who's always with them to introduce them to that new caregiver. Or the owner who just started that new client introduced them to that new caregiver because that client just bought into that owner who signed them. So they've already appreciated you. So now you got to use yourself to introduce that caregiver. Your caregiver appreciates that because now they're not going in blind, that's very uncomfortable, right? That's very uncomfortable to go into somebody's random house.
Yeah.
You've never met before in your life. To be there is going to improve retention. So great job, Patrick. We have 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Actually, I didn't even have to make all 4 or 5 points. There's more to retention, but we're running out of time. But you mentioned every single thing, so good job on what you're doing. Now, Alicia, going back to Alicia McGill over in, I believe she actually works for A Place at Home, West Philadelphia. She's Dina's employee. So hello, we'll pull up her question. I think this is in regards to recruiting. This is a while back. Do you do more texting or phone calls? What do you do?
You mean for like the initial contact?
For initial contact, for recruiting, probably. I think we're talking about
if
recruiting.
I'm using, if it's employee referral, it's usually a phone call. If I'm doing a internet deal with the My CNA jobs or something, my initial contact is with a text. And if I get a response on the text, my next question is, when's a good time for a call? So it starts with, if I'm doing that in mass, I need to hire 5, 6 people or 3, 4, whatever it is, online, anything online, I start with a text. And if they can't send you a text back, they're not probably going to be interested in the job. And then in regard to, I see the second question and I'll go right there. So in regard to, that I do a ton of texting with caregivers. We're in a business where we don't get to see our employees on a daily basis. I mean, I don't know, whatever I have, 38, 40 caregivers I'm dealing with, but how many times do I lay eyes on them? I don't, but I'm in constant communication with them. And not everybody has time to do a phone call. And if phone calls are, I will if it's, if that's what, the situation requires. But just a simple text of, checking in, how's it going with so-and-so, or schedule-wise and all that, and they know they can text me back. That's a good tool just to keep in touch, and just get a pulse of what's going on with them and all that. So I highly recommend a lot of communication that way.
Absolutely. So something I did, like you said, is texting and calling and constant communication is huge. Texting's way easier for constant communication. Plus, a lot of caregivers enjoy the texting more than phone call. And what I would do is make it a point to not text them or call them every time I need something, right? That's when you start burning caregivers out, is when you would call them and say, hey, I have a shift tomorrow or next week, or I have a new client, or I need this, I need that, I need this. right? That starts to burn them out. Like, Patrick doesn't care about me. Dustin doesn't care about me, right? They just want me to go in and fill their shift for that. So right. So what I used to do is take it a little extra. I would just send a random text on a Monday or Tuesday saying, "Hey, I hope you have a great week." I would know if they have kids, and I said, "Hey, how's your kids?" I would know what their favorite hobbies were. Some of our office have fact sheets about their caregivers where they know their favorite potato chip, for example.
Right.
And they would actually go to that client's house, a routine client's house. And for those owners that don't know about this sheet, talk to Aubrey. She helped build it for one of our locations, a place in Omaha. And they would go out and they would just put random acts of kindness, right? Is what we would do. And you would go out and you put a bag of chips with her name on it on a little sticky note and say, "Hey, I hope you enjoy your day." You didn't talk to them. You didn't ask them for anything. You just showed them a sense of appreciation, and it costs you what? 20 minutes of time to go to that client's house, unless the client gets to talking. Sometimes that can take a couple hours. And we've all been there.
Yeah.
And it also it just shows that you pay attention to who they are, not what they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I said it. I actually, you know, what's funny is right before this started, this session, I actually texted a caregiver who hasn't worked for about a week because she hurt herself, not work related, thank goodness. Because I don't have workers' comp to deal with on that one. But she injured herself and can't work for a couple of weeks. And it's been about 5-6 days, and I'm just checking in with her. I know you can't work for another 10 days, but how are you feeling? Are you getting better? You know, all that kind of stuff. And it took me about 10 seconds to text that to her.
Absolutely. Well, Patrick, our time is up, my friend. It's good to see you. Congratulations on that award.
Thank you.
Hopefully next year you can, do the full-blown celebratory thing. But you had a nice event down with your daughter and TCU.
I did.
TCU is hot right now, right?
What's that?
TCU is hot.
They are. I saw them beat Oklahoma, and then they beat Oklahoma State the next week. So yeah, they're rolling along.
They're rolling. I wish I could say the same about Nebraska Cornhuskers, but I have a good feeling our time is coming because all bad times have an end. I hope
they have to, right?
Right. So, well, thanks, sir. I will. I bid you adieu, and I'll let you get back at it. Thank you, man.
All right. Have a good one.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.